Pour one out for my homie Ace the Artist. They be trying to start up a Mega Man ROM hack stream, which I'm sure would have been extremely dope and super awesome. However, tonight the internet decided that it was not, which, man, that sucks. To wanna finally be able to do some gaming, and then, you know, your ISP says, no, I don't think so. I'm going to let a rat chew through the cable tonight, and you are going to deal with it. It's an unfortunate fact of life, but hey, you know, instead we're here, and we're streaming science tonight, because as per my self-issued quota, we need to get one Science React stream in every single month, and I am trying to stick to that goal for this whole year. We're about a third of the way through now. I'm actually kind of proud of myself for keeping up with it. I mean, it's not like it's exactly, you know, a Herculean effort, but it's still kind of like to consistently say, okay, you know, once every month I'm going to dedicate a Thursday to do another stream. I mean, it would be so much easier for me to just be kind of like, well, you know, I have other things to do, and I don't want to, I mean, I like my science, but I don't want to belabor things, belabor myself, maybe I should work on some other stuff. But no, the science continues, and I am going to give myself a pat on the back for that. Pat. Yeah, we're gonna keep at it. Because, hello, I'm Crash Icarus, your chemistry Mega Man VTuber aficionado. And today we're going to be reacting to a handful of videos. Videos ranging from the widely known legend of Nile Red, to some other stars such as Thought Emporium and periodic videos. And we're also going to actually start the stream off with our shortest video and maybe least known of the four people who are watching, although he still has a pretty good following, Styro Pyro. Styropyro is a little bit different for this channel because I usually just react to purely chemistry stuff. This is kind of more bordering into physics and electronics. It's something that I haven't really, you know, studied since like undergrad. So I kind of know my basics of like Ohm's law being, oh god, I'm going to out myself here as not knowing Ohm's law, aren't I? Resistance is equal to voltage times current, or is it the other way around? I'm gonna look this up now because I'm curious. I need to actually know if I'm good at anything. Ohm's law. Voltage is equal to current times resistance. Damn. Okay. Well, I'm a fraud, but more accurately, I'm a chemist. So I don't need to know any of this. Electrons just move between atoms. They don't conduct across physical surfaces. I promise you I know things. Anyways, let's get to learning more things. So we're going to start out with, as mentioned, well, first it'd be good if I brought up the stream layout. Hi, there you go. Now y'all can see me. We're going to start out with today's video on popping a 6,000 amp fuse, which, if you don't know anything about electricity, that probably still terrifies you. 6,000 amps is a not insignificant amount of current. Even 1 amp is pretty deleterious to human health. 6,000 amp fuse, I mean, you know, it's interesting because current has this odd distribution of like how it can hurt you. Low currents obviously don't hurt you because, you know, there's not a whole lot of energy going through you at a given time. And kind of moderate currents are actually the most deadly because those, if I remember my chemistry correct, or if I remember my physics correctly, they are both around the kind of current slash frequency that your body is tuned to. So it really fucks up your heart rhythm, and that causes you to go into cardiac arrest. But then there's kind of a brief window afterwards for like pretty high current that actually is going to hurt like hell, but you're more likely to live because your heart rhythm is not going to be affected by moderately high current, so long as you have something like the ground to conduct into, which the high current will actually help it conduct into the ground better, or, you know, something else to conduct into, like another metal object or something like that. You're more likely to live. Not great chances, mind you, but more likely at least. And, you know, honestly, if you're fucking around with electricity like that, you kind of want the best chances you can get. However, I'm pretty sure at 6,000 amps, I don't think you're gonna survive that. That might just be like, oh cool, well, your heart's not gonna give out on you, but your flesh might. Your flesh might, your arm might. You might turn into a cartoon vaporized coyote. You might turn to a pile of ash with eyeballs. So this is not something to be fucking around with. And yet, here we present to you a gentleman fucking around with it. So, how about we get started? How about I stop fucking around and we get started?
Some years back, the electricity legend photonic induction popped a 5,000 amp fuse. As far as I know, this is still the biggest fuse that's been popped on video.
Oh, I guess I should also provide a little context of, like, if you don't know what a fuse is. I mean, you know that your house probably has a fuse box, but a fuse is meant to be a part of a current that is able to, you know, we call it tripping a fuse, but it would fundamentally be able to break a circuit and stop the flow of electricity if you get up to a certain current or amperage, which is the unit of measurement for current. So, you know, your house probably has, I wouldn't know exactly, but a couple of amp fuses. So if your electricity usage gets too high, it trips the fuse, so that way it, you know, the fuse doesn't melt, and then your house doesn't set on fire. If you were to, say, lock your fuse box in place, which you should not do, Then you would start to get the fuse itself melting, and would kind of be another safeguard, but at that point, some stuff would probably start lighting on fire, and you don't want to be there. So a 6,000 amp fuse is something you really don't want to break. That'll probably, and I imagine it's going to happen, explode catastrophically.
Well, I'm going to try popping a 6,000 amp fuse. This monster weighs something like 45 pounds, and it's the biggest fuse that I could find online. Now, it's not often that I can beat photonic induction at anything, so I felt like this was a good use of my batteries. I say batteries because I'll be using my bank of 400 car batteries to pop this fuse.
Yeah, I remember watching the video that was basically building this monstrosity that you see here, but yeah, this man does science with wanton disregard to I mean, I'm not going to say wanton disregard to his own safety, because he at least does take precautions that are meant to be appropriate for this kind of work. But, you know, even the idea of doing this kind of work is kind of bonkers. I'm just going to casually hook together 400 car batteries in series, and hope that doesn't kill me. I remember the original video of this thing, like, basically, popping through like bricks and frying literally anything flammable you could put in between it. This is a nightmare machine, basically. You're seeing the torment in excess.
Instead of capacitors like photonic induction used, I can pull continuous currents of over 150,000 amps from this bank, so I think they'll be enough to pop the fuse. You'll be seeing a full video about these batteries on my main channel very soon. This monster has silver-plated copper contacts and has an impressive 200,000 amp interruption rating. That's one heck of a fuse.
I don't know what that means.
I'm going to start with smaller fuses to get a better idea of what to expect from the big one.
Oh, okay.
In most other scenarios, a 500 amp fuse would seem pretty huge, but in this context, it's pretty tiny. What happens when I zap it with the batteries? Alright, here we go.
It does have a remote operation for this thing. There is some intelligence here.
If you thought that was boring, well, it's designed to be boring.
Yep.
A fuse is supposed to break the circuit in the least exciting way possible.
It's a safety
I cut
device.
open the fuse to see what's inside. As you can see, it's filled with sand, which prevents it from getting spicy when it blows. Some of the sand actually melted to the fuse element there. Here I have a 1,000 amp fuse.
Interesting.
And I'm actually going to cut it open first.
I've never known what is
inside
inside an amp.
We can at least see some sparks when it pops. This fuse looks to have parallel elements inside. I hope this one is more exciting than the last one.
Ooh. That's a satisfying crack.
Nothing to write home about, but that vivid green flash was pretty neat. I can see the burn through there was a lot more complete compared to the last one.
Yeah, you can actually see, like, comparing the footage from a little bit before, like, these two metal plates were, like, barely contacting here in the middle. And then when it bursts, like, that's what the fuse functionally does. It has so much current flowing through it that the small point of contact between the metals gets absurdly hot. It gets so hot that it basically discharges electricity violently, but in a localized area, and functionally melts, and that melting breaks the circuit. And that's how you prevent, runaway currents from destroying your home or whatever you're powering. In this case, a hell machine.
It's probably just because...
Oh, and the chemistry. The green, if I had to guess, the green color of that spark, which, let's rewind so we can get a good view of that. Yeah, that green-blue color here, that's, I would have to imagine, probably maybe nickel or chromium. Those are two metals that, when atomized and kind of turn into a bit of an emission plasma, they will turn a green color. You can see this in the emission spectrum of a given element. Like, if you would to sprinkle, like, nickel salts into a fire, it would start showing that kind of green color. It would turn the fire green. Anyways.
Get rid of all the sand inside. I refilled the fuse with indium metal to see if anything cooler would happen when it zapped.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as you can see there, I don't think that was the fuse that blew. I think that was the cord that blew. Oh my god.
Probably should have done the math on that one because the indium didn't melt at all. So I think there's just way too much cross-sectional area of indium. But
indium has a notoriously high melting point.
The magnetic forces actually bent those tabs there. Those are thick tabs. So that was that's pretty silly. The slow-mo shows that the extreme currents may have magnetically ejected the fuse before the indium could melt. Regardless, I doubled up the cable feeding the fuse for the next shot to play it safe.
Oh yeah, that's also a good point. For those who are less familiar with electricity, electricity is the movement of electrons through the circuit, and as a charged particle moves, it generates a magnetic field. That is just a fundamental fact of the universe. And so with all the electrons moving at a very, very high rate and a very large flux, that is many electrons moving through a cross-sectional area at a given time, that generates a huge magnetic force. And so not only is this thing a hell machine for the ability to just fry basically anything within the circuit line, it also generates a really impressive magnet that, if you're not careful, could just send metal debris flying out at you. You know, in case you need more reasons to not build this yourself at home. Wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. Sorry, thought I saw something.
All right, there we go.
The wire blew clean off, too. Holy shit.
Of indium left in that fuse.
There's a fucking fuse left,
that
dude.
Just completely exploded. That's really, really funny. Oh, and there's a bolt there that I did not put that there. That just, of course, got magnetically sucked in, as everything does. And let's go take a look at the current. 120, 130, 130,000 amps. Not bad. The slow-mo on this one turned out awesome, even though the clamps barely held up for the shot. Most of the indium was ejected as it liquefied, mainly via magnetic forces at first. And then when the
sorry, so much rewinding. Like, I really want to see a lot of these things again.
Up for the shot. Most of the indium was ejected as it liquefied, mainly via magnetic forces at first. And then when the fuse finally popped, it made an impressive explosion. All right, now it's time to...
Hold on, I have to look really quickly because the chemist brain is reaching. Because I know I passively mentioned that indium is one of the highest melting point metals to exist. I need to remember what exactly that is. Because I would love to just declare how hot that just got. According to Wikipedia, the melting point of... Okay, actually, wait, indium's... Okay, indium, sorry. I might be completely backwards on something. Indium's melting point's not that high. Indium's melting point is about 157 degrees Celsius. So that is not actually all that hot. I must have gotten it confused. Maybe tungsten has the higher melting point I was trying to think of. But yeah, that is boiling hot, you know, at least, I mean, not boiling hot, but, you know, melted hot around 160 degree metal being hurled out at you. So now we're adding not only metal shrapnel and electrocution to the reasons to not do this, we're also adding very hot metal burns to you.
Pop the 6,000 amp fuse. Now, of course, being a 6,000 amp fuse means that it's meant to conduct 6,000 amps without popping.
Right.
Something like this car battery here. I mean, it could short this car battery all day and it's not going to pop. It's going to kill the car battery first. So, this is where the 400 car batteries come in. So how much current does it take to pop this thing? Well, that depends on the duration of the impulse. My 6,000 amp fuse is the top line on this curve here. So based on this, at 10,000 amps, the fuse will last about 17 minutes before popping. If you go up to 20,000 amps, it'll last about a little less than a minute. But of course, I'm most interested in this end of the curve. At 100,000 amps, it'll only last 10 milliseconds. Now, of course, the actual peak current that this gets to before it pops is going to depend on how my switch wants to behave. But regardless, this shouldn't be very hard for my batteries.
I don't remember what the max amperage
of the system is. In the interest of making more sparks, I opened it up and emptied out all the sand inside. This does change its fusing characteristics, But I would argue that due to the nature of the continuous extreme DC currents I'll be feeding it, the fuse will now take an even higher impulse before breaking the circuit. The reason being is that without the sand, it's going to make some angry plasma. That's hilarious. It's just a bunch of smaller fuses in parallel.
So I think he's saying that the sand would normally be a deadening agent that would actually, well, not only is it good for not creating shrapnel, but it's also good for it also kind of prevents easy conduction through like the whole fuse. And so he's saying like he's gonna get a plasma without the sand being there, which will technically allow this thing to operate at a higher amperage for a small period of time, because excess electrons will want to jump the gap from the metal to the other metal, or one of the metal fuses into, say, the adjacent metal fuse. And yeah, I mean, the electrons will flow throughout that whole space now. Now there's no sand separating the plates. It's not a great idea, but we're here for a fun time, not a long time.
It's like that all the way down, isn't it? Fuselets all the way down.
That thing was heavy.
I'm not even gonna bother cleaning the contacts here because it'll melt straight through all that, you know, char and stuff on there. All right, there it is. All the cameras going. Here we go. Let's pop it. Let's see.
All right. 07's in the chat.
I think I'm ready for this.
Poor fuse.
Let me get my slow-mo camera set up here. All the cameras good? Think so? Alrighty, here we go.
Nice, hiding behind the tree. That's definitely sufficient cover.
Jeez! I think I popped it. Wow. I can't wait to see what the
Popped something.
what it pulled in the scope there. Oh yeah, big pulse there. Oh, what happened? What? It's not dead. No way.
Did it get flung?
It melted the contact block. It didn't blow up the fuse. It's crazy. What? It didn't pop it. What?
Wow.
Look at that. It melted the block first.
Wow.
And it ripped up that C-clamp. That's insane. I'll just have to resituate that, because yeah, the fuse is completely intact. Wow. I was so confident that was going to work in
Amazing.
one shot,
The contact
crazy.
block is a natural
Sure enough,
fuse.
the close-ups show that the fuse itself was completely untouched by this. The sparks were simply from the contacts below burning up and causing the C-clamps to give way as a result. Okay, so I've changed this side to spring clamps, that way it can like follow through as any variations burn out there. So yeah, let's give that another go. Dude, I can't believe that this is taking me 2 tries. This is silly.
I mean, it is
All
a
right,
very high rated fuse, so it might take a little bit to crack that nut. That looked very similar to the previous explosion. There's lots of orange copper dust.
Yes, that one finally popped it. Thank goodness.
Oh, well.
There we go.
Huh.
I'm surprised how clean of a burn through that was. It just completely vaporized those pieces in there. Kind of surprised, just considering the voltage I'm dealing with is low. But that definitely did it. That was a full pop. The switch had a few hiccups there, but once it finally closed, the fuse pulled 150,000 amps. So that is why that was so violent there. Nice. The slow-mo shows that the fuse made an incredibly violent plasma jet when it
Look at
burned
that
through.
shrapnel fly.
Impressive. I ended up refilling the fuse with metallic sodium, but you'll have to wait.
Okay. Filling it with metallic sodium. Yes, let's put in a metal that will burst into flames whenever water pours onto it. That sounds like a good idea.
Wait for the main video to see what happened there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little teaser, and stay tuned for the full battery video. Finally, I'd like to shout out AnyDesk for both buying me these batteries and giving me the whole car battery idea in the first place.
You know, every once in a while,
ideas for ridiculous science experiments that you
every once in a while, I am reminded by the fact that chemists are not the craziest people on Earth. Physicists and engineers are the absolute craziest people in science you could possibly find. They get away with some horrifying things that aren't just on the micro scale. They are just, here's a huge contraption that could very easily cause serious injury or death. Chemists don't really have that. We have, here's a liquid that could cause serious injury or death, but it's contained in a bottle. This is, I have 400 car batteries in series out in my backyard, and I'm gonna blow shit up with it. That's impressive. It really is. All right. Speaking of impressive, let's go to the next video. So this one is from Thought Emporium. I don't remember if I've had him on this channel yet, but Thought Emporium, fairly popular YouTuber, likes to do a lot of various science things between biology, chemistry, physics, just kind of dabbles in all of it, and has a lot of money to boot. And the concept for this video is actually doing the inverse of what Nile Red famously did a while ago, where he turned toilet paper into vodka by simply getting the toilet paper really mashed up and wet in a enzymatic solution that actually splits up the cellulose that makes up toilet paper. Excuse me, sorry, burping there. Splits up the cellulose in toilet paper and then actually starts converting that into ethanol. If I could, let's see here, hold on. I'm going to just close that for a second so I can bring up a picture of cellulose without risking any weird things showing up on stream. There we go. That's a good picture of cellulose. Let me copy that in. Paint.net. Keep camera size. All right. It's getting a little bit cut off, but that's fine. So yeah, this is what cellulose looks like. It is a string of sugar rings, and that's what each of these hexagons are. It's a sugar component, as the graph is also showing here. One of these units would be a glucose unit. So cellulose is made up of several glucose units in a row, which is crazy to think that, you know, simple table sugar would be just one of these units, but pretty much everything from, you know, plant matter to tree bark, to toilet paper and other paper is also just made up of varying lengths of cellulose units bonded together through these oxygen bridges. So there's an enzyme, I don't remember which one, but it basically turns the, it breaks up these oxygen bridges to add a water into, oops, my tablet just rotated its orientation on me. Now I gotta find the orientation again, whichever one makes sense. There we go. Okay. But the enzyme would basically go in and attack here with adding a water, or it basically adds water, which is an H2O unit, which adds a hydrogen to this oxygen, adds the remaining OH to here, breaks this bond. Now you got an OH sticking out of it. And the enzyme basically repeats that over and over again to break up the glucose. But then with other enzymes, that then further breaks down the glucose into, through multiple steps, into units of ethanol, which is a molecule looking like this. I will draw the full thing out rather than take shortcuts like I'm used to, just for anybody unfamiliar with the structure. That's ethanol. That's what gets you drunk. So all the components are here. Each of these vertices is a carbon. And so with, you know, the proper enzymes, you can break down sugar straight into ethanol. That's what fermentation basically is. Or it's not what fermentation is. It's a different process. But that's the idea for turning toilet paper into ethanol. However, advanced tinkering wants to take it a step further and say, well, principally, you could do it in reverse. If you want to, you really could just turn, you know, ethanol back into cellulose. It would take way more effort than it's worth because the trying to assemble several small ethanol units into a sugar ring is a kind of a folly. I mean, you can count the number of, carbons here. You can say, okay, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that's going to be, 3 units of ethanol to make the up the backbone alone. But then you also have to count the fact that, this also contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 oxygen. So you're going to need a little bit more oxygen-rich sources, which is probably some water that's being added into this, and the actual chemistry to get all those bonds to form is really tough because carbon-carbon bonds don't tend to like to break or break once formed, and carbon-hydrogen bonds are in a similar manner, so you're going to need some fancy enzymatic chemistry to probably go in the reverse direction as well. But I mean, hey, in principle, you could make paper out of ethanol, and that's what advanced tinkering is going to be trying today. So let's get to it. Oh, cool! It starts off with toilet noises. I guess I should have expected no less.
Hey, does anyone know what happened to all the toilet paper? I think we ran out.
Oh yeah, I turned it all into vodka.
Oh, hey, Nile.
Good luck.
That's right. Today, we're doing a reverse Nile Red and turning vodka back into toilet paper. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, before the plague of 2020 and the days of hoarding toilet paper, my friend Nile Red made a video turning a batch of that most sacred of tissue into drinkable moonshine. Insane as this may seem at the outset, it quickly makes sense when you consider the chemistry involved. Cellulose, the main thing paper is made of, is really just long chains of glucose molecules stuck together.
Yeah,
if you can break the chains apart and free the glucose, it's very easy to ferment that into alcohol. Glucose, after all, is just sugar. From there, a quick trip through a distillation setup and you've gone from TP to hungover. So how is it possible to go the other direction? One of the things that the cellulose to vodka route has going for it is that there is a readily available organism that will eat the provided glucose and turn it into ethanol, namely yeast. Which means that most of the work is actually breaking up the cellulose into a form the yeast can eat. Well, if we're allowed to use microbes, we actually have a ton of tools at our disposal. To tackle the reverse direction, we're going to need to break it up into two steps. First, we need to convert the ethanol back into a form which can be readily consumed by our microbe of interest. And then, that microbe will use that food and convert it back into cellulose.
Ew.
And while this is obviously a silly use of vodka, we'll see how the same microbes that let us do this might be the future of environmentally friendly paper products, and
we'll see it again, but that is an interesting looking biofilm. And like, there's, if you've ever noticed maybe food sitting out too long or pond scum or, stuff like that building up, like usually that kind of white, boogery, stringy nonsense that actually builds up is, a big colony of bacteria, essentially. I don't know if he's using bacteria here, but usually it's not thick, gelatinous, and, tan off-white color, a little bit brown. It's that's a thick mat. That's very weird to look at.
While this is obviously a silly use of vodka, we'll see how the same microbes that let us do this might be the future of environmentally friendly paper products and even a few super materials. But before we talk super materials, let's at least manage some passable bog roll.
A little bit of a
to get started, while some people may be able to survive seemingly on nothing but pure booze, vodka for most creatures is not a highly nutritious food source. But while you might think we need some strange exotic organism to convert it back into food, we can actually just use the same organism that created it in the first place. Again, yeast. Strange as it may seem, yeast are actually quite capable of eating alcohol.
In principle, like there's what's known as the principle of microscopic reversibility within chemistry, and like that is something that, basically says that if you can do it forwards, you can fundamentally do it backwards. It's just that the thermodynamics, the energy levels of it all does not necessarily make that easy or feasible. So I've never heard of anybody actually trying to run yeast in reverse, essentially. I have no idea what the conditions for that could be, at least in a manner that actually does it efficiently. I guess you could add enough heat to the system where the yeast somehow doesn't die, but you end up establishing an equilibrium. Which, yeah, I guess let me elaborate a little bit on my drawn board here. So, just to keep things simple, I'll use like a generic reaction diagram. But you could have something like this where, A plus B equals C plus D, and this is an equilibrium reaction. Technically, all reactions are in equilibrium, but we usually only reserve these double arrows in chemistry for reactions that are significantly kind of in both directions. Now, there might be things about this reaction you can make it, you can influence to get from one side to the other. For example, C plus D might be favored by having high heat, or maybe it's favored by using drying conditions. Like, say, D was like water, for example. If you dry out the water, then there's less water in the resulting mixture. And so there's less water to drive the reaction backwards in turn. There's less water to react with whatever C is to reform A plus B. So if you keep removing the water, then A plus B are going to still keep combining to go to C plus D, and it's not going to be able to go in reverse. Conversely, you could maybe have something like, I don't know, maybe high pressure could give you A plus B, and that could shift the equilibrium backwards. There's a lot of things you can do to make a reaction go forwards or backwards. And principally, whatever yeast is doing with, this being the side of like glucose and this being the side of ethanol, principally a yeast is basically just a biochemical reactor. So it could just go one way or another given the right pressures, but I cannot say I've ever heard of anybody doing that ever. And also while at the same time balancing the fact that the yeast need to stay, what's the word, alive. And that's an entirely different challenge altogether. One that, as a pure chemist, I am not suited to doing. I'm used to all of my things never having been alive in the first place.
You grow yeast on sugar in an oxygen-free environment, they make alcohol. We call this fermentation. But give them oxygen and all that built-up alcohol becomes food too. This is called respiration and uses a different pathway. Rather than deep diving into the biochemistry and, frankly, giving anyone who's taken a biology class PTSD flashbacks as we go over the citric acid cycle, the important part is this.
Fake chemistry.
When oxygen levels are low, many organisms use a backup system so they can continue to function. In humans and other animals, this means making lactic acid as an end product instead of water, which is what they normally make with oxygen. Which is also why your muscles feel like they're burning when you work out. They're starved of oxygen and are literally acidifying themselves trying to survive.
Well, last time I heard, that is still a bit of a debated science. I'm not sure. I mean, it's undeniable that lactic acid is produced. It's not entirely clear, the last I heard, that it is the cause of the burning or that it is necessarily related to it. It could be a parallel reaction that causes that burning, tired feeling in your muscles. Yet, I mean, I haven't checked back in on this in a couple of years, but I do remember, like, during at least, like, the late 2010s, like, this was still kind of well, we're not entirely sure. So, a grain of salt.
In yeast, their end product is ethanol, but for them, the last step is reversible. If oxygen suddenly becomes available again, they have a special pathway to convert the built-up ethanol back into a usable carbon source so it's not wasted. So while vodka might not be a good food source, the yeast themselves are. Yeast extract is an incredibly common reagent in both microbiology labs and the pantries of most vegans, because it's super nutritionally dense. Sort of like how we can't eat grass, but we can eat cow. As such, we have used it countless times on the channel because it's the perfect food for a huge number of other microbes. And sure enough, we found a bacteria capable of surviving on nothing but pure yeast extract, that also produces cellulose. Allow me to introduce, and bear with my pronunciation here, Commegatebacter hansenii. Commegatebacter? I don't know. I give up.
Got any
Beyond
Japanese
making me
speakers in the
want to say
audience?
Gesundheit, and a nice reminder that biologists are terrible at naming things, it's an absolutely amazing species. It is one of many which are capable of producing cellulose, and while they, of course, would prefer to grow on solutions rich in glucose or other sugars, much like the Australians, they can survive on yeast extract. And for those that didn't realize that's what Vegemite is, congratulations, now you know. Anyway, K. hanseni was originally isolated from kombucha, and anyone that's grown their own probably isn't that surprised. Kombucha famously grows a thick pellicle on the top of the culture that for a long time has been known to be about 50% cellulose, with the rest being proteins and other molecules.
Sorry, I'm not saying much. I'm engrossed and fascinated myself. I'm learning a hell of a lot watching this.
Pellicles are actually amazing. Regardless of what you think about the drink, growing kombucha for the pellicle is a good time.
They're also
if you dry it out
horrifying
and oil it, it forms a pseudo-leather that is remarkably strong, and it isn't a petroleum product like the other quote-unquote vegan leathers. However, kombucha is a mix of hundreds of different organisms. These pellicles are often called a SCOBY, or symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. By growing just K. hanseni, we can grow far more pure cellulose that is usable for all of the usual things that cellulose is good for. And it's one of the least picky organisms in the bunch, though it does require a lot of oxygen to grow well. As you can see, it also very readily forms pellicles of cellulose at the surface of a culture bottle. So our plan is to first use our bioreactor system to convert as much vodka into yeast biomass as possible, then boil the result, feed it to this bacteria, and produce paper from the result. And while using this bacteria like this is definitely silly, if we were to feed it things other than vodka, it goes from being comical to actually a big environmental boon. You see, a lot of human industry and the products we've come to know and love produce waste streams.
I think I got a little lost somewhere in this. Okay, so the yeast are going to be used and driven their process backwards using respiration with low oxygen environment or high oxygen environment. I think it's high oxygen, which then grows more yeast, and then using ethanol, and then the yeast are going to be fed to the K. hanseni bacterium, and then that's growing cellulose. Okay. All right. Sorry, I had to take a second there.
That are still rich in nutrients, they're just not useful to humans anymore. For example, in factories that make pasta, their runoff is often laden with starches. And the beer industry produces so much yeast as a byproduct, they had to invent Vegemite just to try and get rid of it.
Yeah,
and
no, that's
while
true.
that is an
Vegemite
option,
and
there's a
Marmite.
reason that it is, let's call it a highly regional cuisine.
Yeah, the British basically started eating it as a desperation meal, and then they gave it to and then they left it with the Australians when they left them on the island, and then they fucking riffed on it further to make Vegemite. Horrifying.
Instead of just throwing these waste sources out, they were instead fed to a bacteria like K. hanseni. You could convert all of that leftover nutrition into high-quality cellulose for use in industry. Bacterial cellulose has found use in a variety of industries, from ultra-high-strength paper, acoustic filter panels, filtration membranes, and a growing number of medical uses, including repairing brains and as a scaffold to grow replacement tissue on. There was also a paper recently that showed that tweaking the growth conditions can make sheets that once dried are insanely strong, and we are definitely going to give that a try in the future now that we've got a sample of this cool bug. So, while it will never replace more traditional sources of cellulose like forestry, it can be used to reduce the environmental impact of other industries, while generating a value-added product. I also wonder if there would be a way to extract the nutrients out of sewage to produce paper this way. It would be kind of amazing if every time we flush and waste a little bit of TP, it got regenerated for reuse later. We could call the project the Shit of Theseus. As it stands, a huge amount of our old-growth forests have been cut down, ground up, and shipped out as butt paper, and planted in their place are giant expanses of pine trees in perfect rows waiting to be cut down again. These expanses are called green deserts, and while they may look nice in a picture, up close you find them actually pretty devoid of life.
Yeah.
Even when a logging company stops cutting them down, it can
going through and hacking down the natural trees and then planting your own trees there that are only there for a small amount of time, and then going through and whacking everything down again has a tendency of making critters not want to stick around. So it's a yeah, it's producing, it's taking in some carbon dioxide and producing oxygen, but it's not exactly home to a lot of life.
Be incredibly hard for the ecosystem to recover. What we really need in these areas is what's called rewilding. This means taking a human-disturbed ecosystem and putting in just a little bit of effort to help the normal ecological processes get started again. I absolutely love rewilding projects and supporting people trying to make the Earth healthier again.
Oh, here's the Planet
So
Wild
I am very
sponsor.
excited to have partnered with Planet Wild, a community-based
They
nature
do good work,
restoration
but,
organization
we
that
ha- we
also
have
happens
things
to
to
have
watch
an
here.
amazing channel here on YouTube.
Let's just
If you've
move
not
on
seen it, click the link in
ahead.
the description. And the best part? And there's no where they rewild the Green Desert in Scotland, which I've linked in the cards and description. Now,
So
while they
not-
work on fixing the
There we
planet, let's
go.
work on rectifying our rectal retinue and return to reproducing recycled toilet paper.
Good
Sorry,
alliteration.
our words. To get our paper-making process underway, we first need to figure out what concentration of vodka to use. As you may
What do you
know,
mean,
yeast are
concentration
only
of
capable
vodka?
of producing up to a certain alcohol percentage, because beyond
yeah.
that point, the alcohol
might have to dilute
itself becomes lethal. And too close to that limit, even if they are growing, it's going to take forever. Also, while it would be awesome to grow yeast just straight in a bottle of vodka, that would violate both the laws of physics and biology, because every organism needs more than just carbon and oxygen to survive. So for each batch, big or small, we need to add a specific amount of something called yeast nitrogen base. This stuff is mainly
Well, I mean, if you were really dedicated to this whole let's recycle sewage into toilet paper, then your pee contains plenty of nitrogen. Urea is a very nitrogenous material. I'm sure you could also provide some solid fertilizer for it as well. Come on, Thought Emporium, didn't you want to just do it all, go all the way, go with the next closest toilet paper adjacent product you could?
minerals and salts, things like iron sulfate, calcium phosphate, ammonium nitrate, zinc.
Right. Well, you
and
maybe
so
don't
on.
have that exactly.
Without this,
in
the
your,
yeast can't function and eat
your
the
matter,
ethanol,
so.
but it doesn't meaningfully contribute any carbon for them to convert into biomass. Essentially, 100% of that will come from the ethanol. To figure out the best vodka concentration, we ran some tests with our new baby bioreactors. You'll see more of these in an upcoming video, but they let us monitor the growth and do a bunch of small-scale tests to dial in the exact concentration that'll work best. Finally, we also need the yeast itself. In this case, I went with a wine yeast to maximize the ethanol concentration that it can survive. When all was said and done, we found that about 6% ethanol provided the best balance of speed and biomass production. Less than that, and you don't get enough yeast. More than that, and it starts to take forever to grow. Knowing that, we can finally get to the big production. To actually make our paper, we're going to need quite a lot of yeast, which means that it's time to fire up our big bioreactors. We showed these off in our recent video making penicillin, and this whole system was built in-house from scratch.
Look at that.
The
balloon
bioreactors are based
crazy.
on 1.5 liter beakers, and the cabinet can currently hold 12 reactors at once. So it's time to do a little amateur mixology and make our yeast growing cocktail. This includes a healthy 150 milliliters of vodka, 6.5 grams of yeast nitrogen base,
Very
and the rest
tasty, I'm
is some
sure.
refreshing water to thin the mix so our yeast don't get too drunk. This
Don't you
gets
want your bartender to put
autoclaved to
that
make
in
it
there?
sterile, as we've shown
Mixture
many
of,
times
zinc
before,
and iron
and it gets
salts.
inoculated with a little bit of our yeast solution once it's had time to cool back down to room temperature. All that's left is to install it in the reactor cabinet and let it grow. We gave it a few days to make sure that all of the vodka was consumed, and off-camera ran several more reactors so we could work our way through the whole bottle. The nice thing is, we don't really have to do anything fancy to prepare this for the next step. Pretty much all that's required is to just take the lid off and boil it for a while. This will pop open all of the yeast, releasing their delicious juices into the water and creating in situ yeast extract.
Microbial murder.
Now, as you saw from the culture bottle of K. Hansenii, the layer mainly grows at the liquid-air interface. So to maximize our yield of cellulose, we got these short, wide bins. The plan is we're only going to add 1 centimeter or 2 of liquid in here and leave the rest as airspace. The boxes were thoroughly sterilized with alcohol, and once dry, we poured in our now cooled.
Oh, the irony of using alcohol in this situation to also kill off any bacteria. Like, we want to use alcohol to actually make our product here, but at the same time, Well, now that we've consumed it all in this flask over here, we now need to spray some on to kill any other bacteria in this. That way it's like, well, we have our scientific conditions. We're actually accomplishing our goal. There's no X factor bacteria suddenly making things work. It's just funny to me. I don't know. There's some kind of irony in this.
Yeast extract. When we did this, we made sure to decant off only the top liquid and not pour all the dead yeast particles in, so our cellulose comes out cleaner. Each bin then got a dose of K. Hansenii, and these could again be brought upstairs to grow in the bioreactor cabinet.
Doing our monthly chemistry stream, you caught us in the middle of turning vodka into toilet paper, using first yeast and then I think Japanese bacteria that makes kombucha, or at least it's named it has a Japanese name. I don't know. I'm not too sure, but yeah, you caught us in the middle of that. Think you've heard of this before? Yeah, if you've watched Advanced Tinkering, then you'll see it. I mean, Nile Red. This is meant to be a reverse Nile Red challenge video where Nile Red took toilet paper, mashed it up, fed it to enzymes, and yeast and turned into alcohol. Well, here in the opposite direction, we're actually going with alcohol through yeast through another bacterium into cellulose. Which, now that I think about it, I don't know why I was saying earlier, I'm surprised that yeast was being used, because usually I'm used to it making alcohol. It's like, no, that's the opposite. People add yeast to, like, meat and shit to cut down on the alcohol and make sugars and other delicious things. Whatever. Anyways, I don't do enough drinking to understand offhand. Anyways, we're back in the middle of things. We're gonna grow some thick, disgusting-looking biofilms.
It's a space that won't get disturbed, so any layers that grow should be nice and thick. Now all we have to do is wait. Over the course of about a week, we saw the bins slowly go from being liquid to solid as the bacteria did their work. And I am thrilled with how nice this time-lapse came out. You can really see the whole process. Now the exciting part.
Seeing big bacterial colonies grow is just about as entertaining to me as seeing a reaction solid crash out and become, deposit out of the liquid layer.
We brought the bins back down to the biolab for harvest, and even just carrying them, it was pretty obvious that this had worked. And cracking them open, we were greeted with a cellulose mat that looks equal parts disgusting and delicious. The smell, on the other hand, not great.
Are you sure?
If you thought kombucha smelled bad, this stuff, much worse. Though not all of our bins came out this clean.
Ew,
a few had a spot of mold that needed to be removed. Thankfully, we can just cut around those spots with scissors and then throw them out. But doing this made it painfully clear why you definitely shouldn't try and eat this. The texture is sort of like silver skin from a piece of meat if that skin was half an inch thick and kind of partly layered.
Yeah, it kind of looks like
this week's horrifying monstrosities.
It kind of looks like what would happen if you made Jello, but if Jello was like the skin of a beast.
Yeah, if they think it's bad fucking watching it, imagine having to do this.
We squeezed out as much water from the slabs as we could before transferring them to a freeze-drying tray.
And then
we loaded up as many of the trays as we could, and then it was off to the freeze dryer. We wanted to completely dry the slabs out while still leaving them puffy and kind of fragile. This way, it'll be easier to break them up into tiny shreds for making paper.
Now,
sure enough, it came out of the machine as these big sheets, which were easy to crunch up with just my hands. This already looks a lot like shredded paper, but we need to reduce the flakes in size as this is still way too big for actual paper making. But a quick trip through a blender does most of the rest of the work. Though in hindsight, I really should have blended this finer. You'll see why in a moment.
Yeah,
to deal with the
paper.
fact that this is literally as suffused with bacteria as pretty much any piece of paper can really get, we dumped the powder into a beaker and then hit it with a bleach solution. This will kill off anything that's left in there and hopefully make it a little bit less yellow.
What?
After all,
you don't want
Yellow chemistry is trash.
thank you, Thought Emporium, for referencing Tom Explosions and Fire, my favorite chemistry YouTuber. But come on, you mean you don't want a bunch of bacteria on your toilet paper? I mean, it's already contaminated by the time you're using it.
That done? Let's get to paper making. We picked up this simple paper making kit and a bin to work in. We strained out all the paper pulp from the bleach, gave it a rinse, and then dumped it into our paper making bin with a bunch of extra water.
It's like
we also added a
applesauce.
tiny amount of PVA to act as a binder to sort of help everything stick together as it dries. Now, this is the part where we realized two things. First, the dried paper biddies swell immensely when you rehydrate them. And also number 2, if you don't shred them enough, you end up with a noodly mess that clings to, well, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But at this point, we were basically committed, so we just went ahead to try and make some paper. This did not always go to plan, and sometimes, even if it did, the noodliness of it made the paper refuse to come back off the mesh later. But after fighting with it for a while, we ended up with a few piles of mush that the instructions assured me would turn into paper. Sure enough, after a day or 2 of drying, the mush had flattened completely out into what seemed like some really nice sheets, though removing them from the backing cloth was a challenge in and of itself. But there we go, we made real paper from nothing but vodka, and it's stronger than it looks. I was able to cut a piece to be basically square, and then...
Oh, it's so funny, because that one, that actually looks more like corkboard, or like, you know, shredded kind of wood fibers, and I mean, that's essentially what that is. Like, he came a little bit closer to making sheets of tree rather than making sheets of paper. It looks exactly, it even has the color of a tree. Like, it literally looks like what would happen when you, like, buy some kind of, like, cheap IKEA furniture, and there's, like, you know, some kind of, like, wooden fake fiber corkboard thing holding up the, you know, holding it up. And then the other thing I was going to say is that this also reminds me of the shitty quality recycled paper that I made once when I was in, like, elementary school. It was just one of, like, the little class demos we were doing at some point, and, like, it wasn't this color, but it was basically like we were recycling newspaper, doing the process for that, and it was this awful, you know, gray, blue, black, lumpy mess because the inks were still in there, and, you know, kids are not exactly shredding up the paper all that fine, and it's like, well, yeah, this is technically recycled paper. I would never use this for anything, though. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a cool thing to do back in elementary school. It was just a one day kind of random thing, but it was I remember it just because of how disappointing the product was, and maybe that was like my first realization of, oh, maybe this whole recycling thing is not as good as we're sold on it to be. Maybe there's maybe we need more sustainable alternatives to throwing stuff out and recycling them. Yeah, they look like shavings from Lowe's plywood.
Used my ADHD fidgeting skills, honed over many years, to delicately fold a paper crane. I always used to do this when I was in class, especially during exams. I could tell how difficult the exam had been by how many paper cranes I had time to make before we were allowed to leave. And a particularly boring class would have my desk looking rather decorative.
Well, it's not the prettiest crane,
but there is one crucial test left to make sure this paper is butt grade. We're going to need to wipe. Since this is YouTube and not OnlyFans, we're going to simulate this function using this piping bag full of Nutella. A little swirl, and 2 googly eyes later, and we have our turd stand-in.
Oh, good. We're going to call the emoji movie.
Tim the Turd. Now, choosing one of our less nice pieces to sacrifice to the cause, we gloved up, lined up the maneuver, and... success!
I mean, it's not
Next,
very
for
absorbent,
a fold,
but...
and the final cleanup pass. And there we go. Tim has been collected, and there's only a minor skid mark.
Minor.
Sure, we're not expert paper makers, but we proved the point and have a few sheets left over we can do some fun stuff with. Stay tuned for a short to see what we have in mind on that front. Either way, we have successfully completed our reverse Nile Red challenge. I've been joking with Nigel for years that if I ever ran out of ideas for videos, I could make a whole career just out of reversing his videos. But even I would have a hard time turning hot sauce back into lab gloves.
I mean,
but
you should try, though. It would
if you
be
enjoyed
cool.
this video, as always...
All right. Well, that was interesting. This has been something that how long ago was this video released? 3 months ago? Yeah, I definitely wanted to get into this for a while now. Huh. Well, can't say that that's the best method for making paper. It's very inefficient, but, you know, the whole idea of turning lots of random waste ethanol and starches and stuff back into something usable it's commendable. It's interesting, at least. Hot sauce in a lab glove sounds like pure magic. Yeah, I mean, you know, the principles were best explained in Nile Red's original video of lab gloves into hot sauce, where it's the structure... I mean, the structure between the molecules exactly themselves is fairly different, but, like, there's a chunk of the molecule making up the lab gloves, and then breaking off that chunk with some chemistry allows you to actually get something that looks pretty similar to a capsaicin, and then just doing a little bit more chemistry, bam, capsaicin. And therefore you could make that into a hot sauce with some extra ingredients. Now, going the other way around is, I would say, way harder, because instead of breaking things down up, just like how this is insane, but it's theoretically possible if someone wants to put in all the work and waste their money and time. Yeah, I wish those 9 notifications were all for my channel, but oh well. Yeah. Speaking of Nile Red, look at what's next up here in the queue. I, however, need to take a quick bathroom break, so let me just bring up the YouTube my stream background playlist and do that really quick. Where is it? I should not have closed it. All right, there it is. All right. Just a moment. Enjoy some Dungeons of Dreadmore music. All right, that was a pretty quick trip. Let's get back to it then. Also, I cannot believe this, but as a Queen fan, it literally, like, I've known about this game, Dungeons of Dreadmore, for many years. I've been a Queen fan for many years. It took me until literally just now to connect the fact that the OST picture, or one of the official OST artworks for this game, is just a Bohemian Rhapsody reference. I don't know how I didn't place the 4 faces here in this specific diamond pattern into Bohemian Rhapsody in my mind. I don't know how I missed those things, but it's finally it all clicked together. Yeah, no, I have the AJ Despirito Your Name Please remix. I really like that one. I remember clicking on it just, I don't know, many years ago, and it's like, oh yeah, this is memorable. I will put this in the stream backgrounds playlist, because now I am streamer. But anyways, we are going to get to Nile Red. Good old Nile Red. Well, I guess it's technically Nile Blue on his alternate channel. For those unfamiliar, I like Nile Red. There are times though where I watch him and I question what in the ever-loving fuck he's doing, because there are times where he does chemistry that just is not the efficient route I would think of. And, you know, to be fair, I'm not the one making the videos and not doing the chemistry, but I mean, on the first the biggest video and stream on my channel, there is him attempting to break glue down into alcohol, and the thing that pissed me off the most was just trying to take the glue, and eventually he wanted to react it with sulfuric acid to break off a piece, which then a piece of that molecule can be easily turned into ethanol. Why on earth he went through the bother of taking the glue, drying it all down, which was an intense energy wasting process, to then shred it and then redissolve it in acid when he could have just added the acid? I have no idea. But Nyanners still fun and entertaining to watch, even if every once in a while I go, what was he thinking? But today I think won't be quite that situation. Because he is going to be making an apple that tastes like, well, anything, and according to the thumbnail, bacon. And I've actually... There's a chance some of you might have actually seen something like this on other channels. Usually the quote-unquote common example of this is making an apple that tastes like a grape. That is where you can buy the compound methylanthranilate. Let me look that up. Close this. Methylanthranilate. It is this material here. That is not a great JPEG of it. Can I get a better JPEG of it? Thanks, Thermo Fisher. You'll never let me down. Methylanthranilate. This is the primary compound that is responsible for like artificial grape flavor, and it is found in grapes. It's just, you know, when you're making candy grape stuff, it's easier to just use this one thing. And quote unquote commonly, you may see people experiment making an apple that tastes like a grape by basically letting it sit in a solution of this material. That material seeps into the apple through the outer membrane, gets into the, you know, apple cells or what have you, and sticks there. Once you rinse the apple off, you bite into it. All this methylanthranilate's in there. It tastes kind of grapey. And so by similar thought process, my guess is that he has found a lot of different flavoring agents. There's probably, you know, an artificial bacon flavor, as exemplified by the fact there's like, oh, you know, there's bacon gum and there's bacon soda and all this other disgusting things that you don't actually want to eat, but, you know, because bacon became a cultural meme for a while, you know, somebody probably found something that's bacon adjacent that you can easily soak into something. So principally, he's going to make a bunch of solutions, dunk a bunch of apples into them, and the little bits of artificial flavoring are going to seep in there and probably make the apple taste like that. That is my guess at the very least. He could, you know, be going with something else, but if I had to guess. This is part of the process they use to make like different candy flavors or flavor emulations. Yeah, I think I partially answered that, but it's definitely related. It's less along the lines of turning the apple into actually something more like the candy emulation or whatever, and more just like injecting it in there. Though less injecting and more like just letting osmosis take its course. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm curious.
This video
what
has been
flavors
sponsored by Brilliant. This is a large jug of bird repellent, and a while ago.
Actually, hold on. Sorry. I would like to update the secondary screen over here. Let me just go ahead and grab this image, this blurry-ass JPEG, and I'll make that a new layer here because it's the new the new relevant thing to be looking at. There we go. I'm happy about that one.
We were able to use it to make an apple that tastes like a grape.
See?
Since then, though, we've been wondering what else could we make an apple taste like? Because
also, apparently, yeah, methylantranilate is disgusting to birds, so it's it's a big part of bird repellent.
Because, I mean, at least in my opinion, there's no way that the only thing that works is grape-flavored bird repellent. I think that we should be able to make an apple that basically tastes like anything, where it can be relatively simple, like something like blueberry or cinnamon, or something more interesting, like cotton candy or bacon.
Sure, cotton candy's the most interesting.
Today,
that's basically just hot sugar.
We finally decided to test that out.
Apples are already kind of mostly sugar.
Went ahead and got a bunch of flavors, where we have some great ones like natural peach, pineapple,
as opposed to unnatural peach,
blueberry, like I mentioned.
That's a classic.
Then we got orange zest oil, banana, wild strawberry. Now we start to get a little bit more experimental. So we got coconut cream, bubble gum, natural bourbon whiskey.
That might actually be good.
Natural cotton candy.
Ooh.
What's natural about cotton candy?
Yeah. This one I think is going to be good. Jalapeno pepper.
Oh,
yeah, that'll probably be good.
Okay.
Be great.
And the final one, bacon.
Ew.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, and I forgot. The last, and in my opinion,
Artificially
the most
natural.
important one, cinnamon flavor.
Ooh, yeah, some cinnamaldehyde.
It's like a cinnamon apple.
Yes.
That one's probably going to be
All right.
perfect.
Yeah, this is pure cinnamaldehyde, though.
Way
These
too
are all
cinnamony.
flavors mixed with vegetable oil. This is just pure, unadulterated cinnamon. But I feel like I'm the most excited for this one, for some reason. And because this is my favorite, I think I want to start with it. And this is all experimental still. We've never tested any of this, so we have no idea if any of this works.
The apple could
But
explode.
once we prove that it works with cinnamon, we can move on through the other flavors and eventually get to the more cursed ones. Or, maybe they're amazing. Who knows? Who knows? So, to get started,
Some of these are going to
get
kind of be
our,
smoothie adjacent just because
flavor
of fruit
making
mixtures.
kit. By that I mean a scale, a magic bullet, and then something called polysorbate 80, which is also known as tween 80. And the last ingredient, just a jug of distilled water.
Yeah, so we are getting into a little bit of molecular gastronomy here. This brand on the right that's selling the polysorbate 80, they sell a lot of various interesting chemicals that are completely edible, but are not common to find just in your average everyday cooking kit. Like they'll sell the stuff that allows you to make like little gel beads of like whatever kind of thing you want to encapsulate. A sodium alginate solution is what that is. They will sell like products like a meat glue, which is like some kind of enzymatic powder that is really good at basically restitching together like ground protein back into like a solid bar, or random pieces of meat back together. So I think this polysorbate 80 is like some kind of artificial emulsifying agent or something like that. Also, the getting out the blender scares me because this is something adjacent to a cooking implement, and oh my god, this man can fuck up some basic cooking. It's impressive sometimes how he's managed to just burn coffee beans or just be flat out unable to like get a browning on like a basic food. Anyways. Is it hard on the human gut? No idea. Probably shouldn't be, but your mileage may vary.
And that's everything we need.
This is all the ingredients? That's actually not that much.
Yeah, it's not very much. The recipe is also right here.
Artsy-fartsy kitchen types try to use it all the time.
But it's not even a recipe for cinnamaldehyde. I just realized that.
Is that the grapple recipe?
Yeah, this is a recipe to make the bird stop. How did I not realize that it's the wrong recipe?
It's fine.
Yeah,
good prep
it should be
work.
fine.
The same quantity.
Just like a grad student.
Okay.
I feel like we can just do all the same amounts and it doesn't really matter. I don't think that apple science is that complicated.
Look.
Okay, so
Look, you could just substitute the same amounts and it'll probably still like qualitatively work. you're not really accounting for like how intense each compound is relative to each other. Because I remember the methylene the grape flavoring, is like really, really strong. Like even a microliter is enough to like flavor like the apple if you actually have it, if it would actually distribute and not be, diluted in water and all that. So like, there's no telling that this is the right amount of cinnamaldehyde to use, and it's not just gonna taste, disgustingly cinnamon challenge cinnamony, but we'll see.
That's it. We have everything we need, and let's get started. So the first ingredient that we have to add is water, where we need 134 grams. Wow. I'm just using distilled because I guess, I don't know, cleaner or something.
Sure. Okay. It's more science that way. Fewer contaminants is more science. That's what they say.
Okay, so that's good enough.
In chem school.
And also, I don't think I ever explained what this recipe is or what we're doing, but basically, we're effectively just trying to remake our own version of Bird Stop.
Okay.
But with not grape flavor. That's it.
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of it.
So we're trying to get the same goopy consistency that Bird Stop was.
Yes, like Bird Stop had this really thick paint-like consistency, and at first I didn't know why it was like that, but at least the theory
have to have all the extra bullshit in the
it's an emulsion between an oil and water with a surfactant in it, which is this tween 80 or polysorbate 80, and that's it.
And then it's blended together. That's it.
Exactly.
Ah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, because
so that's why there's only
these molecules like the methylene and the cinnamaldehyde, they're not very water soluble on their own. They're these heavily organic compounds, meaning they're made up of all these carbons and hydrogens. And while there's a little bit of potential to kind of bind together, like if you might remember from like your high school chemistry classes, where it's like, they say, well, like dissolves like, and that still principally applies. Like you have these nitrogen hydrogen bonds, you have these oxygens, and so if you have like, waters, they will have a little bit of like positive binding interaction between the hydrogens and the oxygens. But like that's not enough to bring this whole thing into solution. The rest of this is like, this ring doesn't really want to be in the water, neither does this kind of methanol group here. So it's better to have something that is oily to dissolve the flavoring agent, and then something that is soluble both in the oil and the water to kind of emulsify them, which is basically bringing the two phases together. And so you kind of get something that functions as being able to move in both water and oil. Your high school chemistry class was so poorly taught that you're surprised you're understanding anything that I'm talking about right now. Fair enough. I that's part of the appeal of me doing these kind of React streams. These are a little bit less intense on the actual chemical mechanism side of things, but I like doing this as also a partial science communication aspect too. I like talking about chemistry. It's my professional hyperfixation, as I call it, and to make it clearer to people is something I aspire to do because I love this field for a very good reason. You get to get away with some crazy shit like flavoring apples if you know what you're doing.
These three ingredients.
All right.
And it's all the more fun to actually know what's going on.
Aside, the next ingredient is 13.2 grams of tween 80.
Oh, it's kind of soapy.
It really does have a soap consistency. Okay, so that's good. And now for the last ingredient, the cinnamaldehyde. Oof. And it smells
like cinnamon.
Exactly like cinnamon candies. It smells great. And we'll add 52.8, so basically 53. Okay, that's perfect.
Very science.
You can see the oiliness of it already. It just does not want to mix with the water. But that's all going to change soon. Look at that. You can just see. Oh, that's kind of cool. You can see where it's touching all the polysorbate. It's turning white.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
About that.
So Let's go ahead and shake it.
Whoa.
I have to wonder. I'm sorry to pause things again, but I am curious. What does tween 80 actually look like as a chemical structure? Tween 80. Okay, that's not helpful. Looks like, according to Wikipedia, it looks like this. Which, let's see here. Okay, so if we're, hold on, let me view the image to copy it so I can draw on it over here. Fortunately, I have to keep the canvas size because that's the only way I can keep streaming it. I am using Bing, yes, because nowadays, with how shitty Google is and how many AI and ads they want to shove in your face and how pay-for-play they are, honestly, Bing's a little better. I'm not really that much of a snob about it, but I figured if I'm doing stuff on Firefox, I might as well. But anyways, yeah, so the tween would actually be pretty good as the mediator for, like, it's the good emulsifying agent, because this big organic tail here, that's actually good for bonding with this, the benzene ring, and kind of having some intermolecular forces carrying that part of it into solution. And then all of these, OH groups, all these oxygens, and this oxygen here too, and this kind of piece here. This hydroxyl group, that's good for interfacing with the water, so you have something that kind of, works good on both ends to actually get everything dissolved. Yandex, DuckDuckGo. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not that picky. I'm not that into it. I mean, probably there's some better search engines out there, but it's not my top priority to optimize.
Huh. Okay, well.
Look at that. It's mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah, it really looks like...
It just straight up looks like milk.
Yeah, it really looks like milk.
Also love how we put it in the
Why was the bird stop
blender,
so thick?
but didn't actually mix it
Yeah,
using
I don't
the
know.
blender.
Maybe they did add paint into it.
Why?
Maybe there was something that we don't know that was added. There was definitely something we don't know. What are those other ingredients?
Thickening agents.
Okay, so I think that's pretty good, but just to make sure that it's really mixed, I'm gonna rip it apart.
Why did you shake it for 3 minutes? You didn't need to. You have a blender. Oh, whatever.
Oh.
Damn. This just looks like a latte. And I gotta taste it, right?
Dude, you're gonna burn your insides if you do that.
It's gonna rip my soul apart with this.
I mean,
cinnamaldehyde.
it'll be very cinnamony, but he'll be fine.
Nice.
Okay, let's try.
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah, talk about the cinnamon
it's
challenge.
Burning so bad. Oh. But it tastes really good at the same time. Okay, either way. With that, I feel like I certified that it worked. We have emulsified the cinnamaldehyde. It is fully dispersed in the water with the polysorbate 80, and the flavor's good. So I think we're on the right track.
All right.
And now, I think it's time to cinemify an apple. So I'll just quickly get rid of that.
Quick F in the chat for all the apples that got sacrificed for this madman's science video.
A giant beaker and a baby beaker. And now we'll add some of our fresh cinnamon milk. And the goal is to get to around 40 mils. Okay. Now into this, we'll just add 2 liters of distilled water. And this is the exact same recipe.
I mean, I guess if it worked for the
video.
grape apple.
So yeah, we're really just trying to recreate everything.
I'm only making suspicious noises on the aspect of, like, if you dilute an emulsion too much, it breaks up.
More palatable.
It no longer actually holds all the oily stuff in there. Like, if you put too much water in it, the emulsifier can't really, do its job without enough
that's cool.
oil around. But
I mean, that's the exact paint-like consistency
Seems like this might
that
work.
we were looking for. That looks exactly the same as the bird stock.
Yeah, it does.
Now to stir this up.
Comically large spoon.
The cinnamon smell is crazy. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strong now that it's in all the water.
Yeah, because it's being repelled by the water,
enough.
actually.
I think I mixed it well enough. And I'll
evaporating
just go ahead and do a quick taste test. Just to see how it compares to the last one, to see if it rips me apart still.
Yeah, come on. Burn your tongue again.
No. That is actually very pleasant. What we have to do now is just dunk an apple into it. So we'll take our beautiful Fuji apple.
That's it.
And the goal is to just leave it in here.
Waterboard the apple for a while.
And why Fuji apple?
So
they were available.
Apparently you can also use Gala apples, which are much more readily available.
Okay.
But I don't know. I honestly, I just really like Fuji apples. Boom. 1 minute. Take the apple out. And that's it.
What do you mean that's it?
That's it. It's been
Just like last time. That's it.
I mean, at least based on our experience with the grape flavor, that exposure time was enough to, I guess, have the surfactant mixture soak into the skin of the apple. And now it just needs to sit here for a day at room temperature. And I guess while it's doing that, the flavor just...
Oh, yeah. The
really
osmosis
soaks
will kind of naturally
All right.
distribute
That's
whatever
what we'll do. We'll
is
come
at
back
the
to this
surface,
in a day.
under the surface of the
And
apple.
I believe it'll work. I have high hopes that what we have in front of us is the world's first real cinnamon apple.
I'm betting it's going to be maybe a little bit subtle, just for the fact that he was able to like sip from the from the mother ichor, and it was like, oh, actually, that's pleasant. It's probably not
this a
concentrated
cinnamon
enough.
apple?
I think it's getting diluted in the apple over time. It'll still be cinnamon, I'm guessing.
It definitely smells like cinnamon, but it's very faint. Okay, either way. Smelling it's not going to do anything for us. There's only one way to find out if the cinnamon successfully infused into this apple, and it's going to have to taste it. So,
ready for
Let's
the
see.
crunch.
Please
Crunch of a
work.
lifetime. Uh-oh. Of disappointment.
There is no detectable cinnamon.
Damn.
Aw, man. It just tastes like a regular apple?
Yeah.
How? What happened?
As far as I know, it's possible that the cinnamon just has a harder time getting through the skin or something than
Yeah.
the grape flavor.
You just need to soak it for longer.
This is actually a fear that I had because every flavor has technically different physical properties and also potencies. So it's possible that to get the same level of flavor as the grape, you need to soak it for like 10 times longer. Or use 10 times the concentration.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
All right, so up the concentration or soak it longer.
Or do something. I think
Why not
the
both?
potential is still there. I just think that to actually get it into the apple.
Yeah. Like this is what I was kind
We
of
need to
commenting
force
on
it a
earlier,
bit.
where like the grape flavoring and the cinnamon flavoring are like different strengths of
We got 6
detectability to
apples.
your senses.
And this new
So,
recipe where
no
we're gonna be
guarantees that it
making
actually
1
works.
liter of the fully concentrated stuff.
But we're gonna,
So
of
what
course,
we did before with 200 mils,
try a little bit
we're gonna be
harder.
making a liter. And then the idea is that we're gonna treat 1 apple for
Force
1
science
minute
to work.
in the fully concentrated version, and then we're gonna move down the scale, sequentially diluting it at each of these percentages. Where the solution we had before was only 0.5%. So the lowest we're going is still
Good
5x
job. Good job, Amber.
what we had before. And I mean, I feel like somewhere in there we got to get a good cinnamon apple. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's it. That's what we'll do. Okay, let's just go.
Thankfully, this should start going much faster now. He has less ground to retread. It is still kind of crazy how it turns that opaque white color, you know, from these very yellow and clear ingredients. But that's just how light refraction works, I guess.
Okay, so this is the full concentration. If this can't get through the apple skin, I don't know what will. So I'll just get my phone, and I'll grab a victim here, and we can drop it in.
Victims, they certainly are.
That.
Oh, that's just painted in it.
That straight up looks like it's just in, like, paint. So funny.
The apple jar incident.
Oh, man.
If this can't do it, then I don't know what will.
One way or another, that's going to taste like cinnamon. Even if it's just the
Holy.
residue on the outside.
Oh, my.
Look at that apple. That is horrendous.
Dude, that is really layered onto it there. Whoa.
Okay. So,
Kind of like
that's good.
foamy,
Apple
too.
1 complete.
It's like soap bubbles.
We now
kinda
need to get to
slowly.
Apple 2. And the next one in line is a 40x concentration. So now all we have to do, theoretically, is dump out 250 grams. Holy accuracy.
Nice.
That's how you know you're good at chemistry.
Now we just have
when
to
you could
add
just start
it back
eyeballing
up to a
solutions
liter.
pouring
So we're
out.
going to add back the 250 grams.
You just have this
but
innate sense of
water.
density.
Okay.
And wait.
Okay. And now, all we need to
At the
do...
very least, I'm glad he's just
get
going
the
for
timer
the
going,
kitchen appliances
grab another victim,
immediately this time, and rather than
and,
just shaking
drop it
them for
in.
3 minutes randomly, and then deciding to get out the appliance.
Not much difference.
It's less thick of a coat
It
of
is
paint.
different, though.
A little bit more red is coming through.
It definitely doesn't coat it like we're painting the apple as much.
A minute later, it's
This
like
is
this.
the final apple.
I have another day to look. Oh, they all got pretty
Okay, 5x.
thoroughly coated,
We
all
got
things
5,
considered.
10, 20, 30, 40, 53. There you
The
go.
1x just kind of
Yeah,
rolls
I mean,
right
we'll do
off.
the exact same thing that we did last time. We'll just leave it out for a day, shove it in a fridge for a day, and I'm hoping that at least one of these apples rips our faces off. I want my mouth to burn off my face. So we'll see, I guess.
And
Weird kink, but okay. Uh-oh.
oh man,
Oh,
what happened?
some of those are...
There's actually a gradient.
This is like a... Oh, I think we found the solution that turns apples into zombies, huh? They did not like that. Huh. That's interesting though. I wonder why, because that kind of looks like So you know how apples do brown as they are left out in the open air? That is because cutting open the apples releases an enzyme which facilitates oxygen reaction with the exposed cells, and that's basically the apple's equivalent of scabbing up. Like how if you're bleeding, your body scabs to kind of, where you've ripped your skin, your body scabs up to heal. That reaction is catalyzed, the reaction will happen more intensely under pH basic conditions and less intensely under pH acidic conditions. pH acidic conditions most commonly would be you would provide some lemon juice with your apples to prevent them from browning. But I'm guessing that this solution with the polysorbate and the little bit of cinnamaldehyde here. Just slightly basic. And I'm guessing the more coating you had on this, the more that kind of enzymatic browning occurred. I'm not so sure how delicious those dark apples are. I mean, it's not necessarily a sign of rot or like bacterial decay, but they sure as hell don't look very appetizing, and the texture's probably all wrong too.
You can see as it goes up to the higher concentration, they just get browner.
Yeah, look at that abyss right there.
Yeah, that's where it all welled up too.
Yeah, they turned into something special. But
are they
I
soft?
think they should still be okay.
Even he's questioning his ability to stomach this.
Okay. Well, for an apple like this, you would expect it to be all mushy. It's still hard. Oh, yeah. These are not over-ripened apples. They're not rotten. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself of that. But evidently, the cinnamaldehyde just triggers some sort of browning effect. I think it's just in the skin. Well, I have no ability to know
you
that
haven't
for sure,
cut it open
I
yet.
can't see inside the apple, but I believe it's just a skin effect.
Oh, I want him to
But
bite
yeah,
into this so
either
badly.
way,
It's the
gotta put
closest
it in the
thing you
fridge
can see
now.
to watch somebody biting into a poisoned apple.
Here we go. Stay safe, apples.
All right.
Oh, they
Don't
still have
get
another
browner.
24 hours to go, huh? Ew.
I don't know if they got browner.
No, I don't think they did.
This one's the only normal looking one. Every other one is
Even
looks
then, you can
pretty
still see a couple brown
diseased or
patches on
something.
that one.
But I mean, I guess all we can do now is taste it. Hopefully, at least one of them tastes like a good cinnamon apple. And I guess I'll start with the weakest one. I think that makes sense. So.
Oh,
with the
what are
5X.
you nervous, Niall?
Looks like I said, it looks mostly normal. A couple little brown spots here and there. Can't see. I mean, it's definitely more there, but it's kind of like where the cinnamon is. There's just not enough, but it is adding to the flavor very slightly. So, 5x clearly not enough, and I mean, logically
What?
it might make
Technically
sense
successful.
to jump to the 10x, but I gotta try the 53. I gotta know what
okay.
the upper limit of the
Nice.
cinnamon is.
He's gonna jump
'Cause
right
if-
in. He
if
got
this
over
one
his
doesn't
fear.
rip my face off, then we don't really have any hope. So please, I just want this to rip me apart. Please be super
This
strong.
won't make him
Okay, let's take a
sick
bite.
bacterially, but maybe his colon won't be very happy.
I'm actually shocked by this because I thought this was gonna rip my face apart, but it doesn't at all. It's actually just a blend of cinnamon and apple.
Just pleasant. Huh.
Straight up, it's really good.
Nice. So worked.
I think so. I'm gonna try again. Over and over. I guess it's good. I gotta keep eating it.
I mean, I admittedly probably would be taking a bite like this. I am curious
Okay.
myself. I kind of
mean-
want, like, this is the kind of shit that I live for. To quote Explosions and Fire, hold on, I only have like half of the quote ready. I think it's like, the quote's something along the lines of like, you don't get into chemistry to do math. You get into chemistry to play God, and that is exactly like the motto I follow. And to be able to basically make something that is the equivalent of a cinnamon apple pie just within the apple, I so badly want to try this. I don't think I would actually order all the chemicals myself, but if somebody was selling these, I probably would buy, and then I would bite into it, and I'd be like, damn, that was cool.
Out of all of them, the 53X definitely as an overall cinnamon apple. I think that one's the best.
The most balanced in every way with cinnamon and apple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this mean that we should probably go for the higher end of all concentrated flavors?
So overall,
No, you
this
should definitely
proves
have
to
a
me that it
gradient
does
for all the
work.
other ones.
And what this kind of taught me, compared to the grape flavor, is that this process is kind of a lot more complicated than I assumed. So all the stuff
It's
that we have
complicated.
here,
It's just that your flavoring agents are
peach,
differently
the,
intense,
cotton
differently
candy,
detectable by the body.
coconut, the jalapeno.
Baked grape is really detectable.
I think that really
Cinnamon
honing
is
in the perfect version of
mildly
each would take
so.
is going to be like difficult. But I do think that the smartest thing we can do is just go max concentration on all of them and see what happens.
That doesn't seem like the smartest thing.
Yeah,
you
we
could
got
do.
all the apples.
That just seems like the thing you could
All
do
the
to use
flavors.
the fewest apples.
And I want to start with the jalapeno pepper, because to me that's the one I'm most excited about.
All right.
Okay, so all we need is this. Okay. And then we'll put the whole bottle of the jalapeno pepper extract.
That doesn't seem intelligent.
Oh wow, it's oily, eh?
Okay, that's loaded in.
Well, okay, I guess it wasn't really as much as I thought it would be. You'll also have You'll also note that Nigel has this tendency to just throw shit all over the lab because
It's not
mess
as milky
equals
this
fun.
time because I guess of the color of the jalapeno.
I'm not sure
oil,
I really agree.
but it looks pretty good. Smells good. Smells oily. Yeah, I should also say that all of these extracts that we got, they're all oil-based extracts. So it's some amount of flavor, but mixed in with a base of vegetable oil, which is why this should still work. Because at the core of it, it's just an oil that we're trying to emulsify with water.
All right.
But now, as usual, I gotta just do a quick test, because based on how concentrated it tastes, I think that determines the soak time for the apple. So we'll see.
I mean, the soak time or the amount of like concentration you're gonna go for.
That's pretty spicy. It's not crazy spicy though. So
Granted,
we're
this
gonna
is
have
a
to
man who has made and tasted pure capsaicin, so I think his spice detectors might be a little bit off.
By the soak time, and I'm gonna arbitrarily say, you know what? I'm gonna go 10 minutes.
You're gonna soak the apple in there for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, he made
so-
pure capsaicin. Remember from the whole gloves into hot sauce? He made pure
And just gonna
capsaicin
drop it in.
and tasted it.
Oh my god.
And it turns out it was
That's it.
more intense when he added a little bit of ethanol to it.
Ridiculous.
If I remember after this video, I could pull up the quick short he did of dissolving it into ethanol and then putting it on a
Yay.
tongue, and it's a very
Put
funny
down
short to see him just
our
like
first successful apple.
uncomfortably in
Well,
pain.
Hopefully successful. Jalapeno apple. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I am confident that out of all of these, the bubblegum one is going to be the most disgusting by far. Even worse than the bacon. Like, bacon apple kind of makes sense. Like, that's sometimes a thing paired together in barbecues. I think bubblegum apple is going to be absolutely just, like, revolting. But I also really hate bubblegum flavor, so...
There it is.
Go.
10 minutes.
Done. Whiskey, bubblegum, orange, coconut, banana, cotton candy, all of them. Blueberry, bacon, peach. Oh my gosh.
We did it. It only took 2 hours to do all the apples, or more. It was like 3 hours. Also, I realized we probably could have done them all at the same time, which would have saved hours of effort, but whatever. Either way, they're all done.
Never heard of
And now
working
we've
in
got to let them
parallel.
sit there, and hopefully, we should be left with an amazing array of different apples. It is finally
wow.
time.
And none
to
of them
taste
turned
our amazing
weirdly
apples
brown.
and to see whether or not we were successful at
The
making
few
them
shorts you've seen from him,
taste like anything.
never sub.
Which
Yeah,
one's
he's,
going
he's
for
one of the
first?
more
That's a good
accessible
question.
chemistry YouTubers.
The
so
one I
it
was
is a little
most
surprising
excited about
that
out of all of these was the jalapeno pepper apple, and I gotta see if it worked. So
I just wish Nigel's cameraman was a little bit more brave, because I would love to hear two people's opinions on what they're experimenting on, not just his, because Niall has kind of fried half of his receptors.
At first, I thought I wasn't
chemicals
really
he
getting too
smelled,
much, but then it started getting spicy.
It's still
which is very interesting. It's a very mild, tingly spice. But I have to be honest, it doesn't have a very strong jalapeno pepper flavor, which is it's a little bit disappointing.
So the jalapeno is not that strong in it? Darn.
No. And it makes me worry that the other ones also didn't infuse super well.
Let's try the cotton candy next.
Out of all... Okay.
Yes, let's do cotton candy, dude.
Out of all of them, you think that one's going to be good?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I mean, it'll just be a sweeter apple.
Oh, this one reeks. It's so oily, too.
Oh, it's absolutely possible to permanently damage your taste receptors with certain doses of compounds. Not in the sense of like, how to phrase this. It's not like eating a very... It's not like you can overload your sensors with like tasting too much concentration of one given compound. And you're like forever going to be deadened to that or deadened to similar materials. It's more like how there are just some materials that like will kind of just react with what's in your mouth or what's in your nostrils and just kind of cause a deadening sensation because like, you know, certain nerves were killed, they didn't grow back, maybe you know, there's like less surface area or something like that going on there. I mean, it's just generally documented that like long enough exposure to like certain materials can like pose a hazard to given, you know, specific parts of the mouth, like or specific parts of the body. Like for example, toluene is a material in like some high octane fuels. And it is I'm kind of misremembering the name here, but it's like an odo hazard, which it's meant to be. It's actually toxic to your ears, and it will cause like your like I think like the one or two like it's for some reason it specifically targets like one or two muscles that are like within your ears that help you actually hear things. So like enough exposure to toluene, benzene will cause hearing loss. And in a similar sense, you can have materials that just for whatever reason target the taste receptors, or the neural pathways like from your mouth to your brain and make it so that way you have a deadened sense of flavor or smell. And so with all the shit that Niall's done in his past, and just given the confirmation of some of the people around him on his channel, yeah, he's definitely deadened his senses a little bit. I mean, this is a man who has also made some of the smelliest compounds in the world. You know, thioacetone being one of the most famous smelly compounds. And he was like, yeah, this smells bad, like, you know, really unpleasant hot garbage, but, you know, it's not terrible. Meanwhile, his two cameramen are like gagging and wanting to vomit because they're on the same island with his stink bomb that he made. So, like, you know, Niall has an interesting array of senses at this point in his life.
You know what? I think it actually worked.
Yes.
God, it just tastes like an apple and cotton candy at the same time.
Well, a very sweet apple, essentially.
That's kind of relieving. I mean, you want to try it? You can give me your opinion.
Yeah.
Bite the other side.
Oh, finally he's going to try one.
Oh, man, that smells sweet.
Nice. Yeah, and his reaction, that's really sweet.
That tastes delicious. Dude, it tastes like it's its own candy. Like it's its own type of, I don't even know, like it's its own type of dessert. This is great. This is, oh man, this is I'm excited. This is good. This is new. This is new. Oh my gosh. That's a W right there. That's a big win.
It just tastes like a strawberry mixed with an apple. I mean, that's good.
It's perfect. It's like Snapple Corporation.
It's good. There's a good mild peach flavor, you know, mixing with the apple. Honestly, I don't really taste it for the pineapple.
To be fair, they're fairly
banana.
related fruits.
Definitely more than the pineapple, but it's also pretty mild.
Yeah, banana doesn't exactly have a strong flavor on its own when you eat a banana,
Whoa.
so...
The orange one so far is the strongest. It literally tastes like a blend of an orange and an apple at the same time.
It probably makes sense that the orange is actually really the strongest because the human body has a really high detection or really low detection limit for citrus fruits and compounds. I don't really remember like the exact numbers and metrics on this, but like I do remember in my organic chemistry classes like learning that one of the essential oils for grapefruit is like so strong or so strongly recepted by the human palate that like you can detect basically like like 8 parts per million or something like that of that one grapefruit oil like dispersed in air or in liquid. So like you can still taste grapefruit even at like really low concentrations of that oil. So for the orange to be super strong, a related citrine oil, that kind of makes sense. Is this why you can taste smells? Well, it's kind of the entirety of flavor is very much a strong combination between odors and actually what's in your on your palate. That's obviously why holding your nose to take medicine makes the Robitussin or whatever you're drinking taste less awful, because one of the major factors into human flavor detection is retronasal detection of compounds. Basically, as you eat something, the materials that are kind of in the, evaporate in the gaseous phase in your mouth will evaporate upwards, back through your nostrils, and like towards the direction of, I mean, you know how you would breathe normally and like go through your nostrils, down your mouth, down to your lungs. Well, opposite direction of out of your mouth, back through your nostrils, towards the outside. I don't think it actually makes it that far. There are detectors back there for retronasal scents like those, or retronasal movement of compounds like those, and that will actually trigger sensations within your brain to detect that, oh, there is something, there's an extra something here. This gets interpreted as flavor, and your nose is actually way more sensitive and able to differentiate between different materials than your mouth can. Your mouth, exact numbers escape me, but I think it's something on the order of like your combined forward nasal and retronasal detection is like 1,000 or 2,000 times more compounds that can be detected than on your like mouth, just on your tongue. So, yeah, flavor is a combination of taste and smell, is how the culinary types tend to put it. Yeah.
That's good. Whoa. It tastes like a perfume or something got mixed in with the apple.
Too strong.
Yeah. Doesn't taste like a blueberry. Smells like bubblegum.
This one's gonna be gross.
There's definitely a bubblegum flavor there, but it's way more mild than I expected.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Maybe palatable then.
So, now for the coconut cream. What do you think this one's going to be like?
I think it might be mild a bit if bubblegum didn't stand out. I don't know.
I mean, this one reeks.
All right. Coconut is a very, very strong compound. I mean, you can smell coconut shavings like the room over usually.
This one definitely worked.
Yes.
Yeah, it has like the coconut cream taste really blends well with the apple. It's good.
No way. Coconut cream? That's a sneaker right there.
What is going on?
I mean, in my personal experience, coconut
Feels
is
like
a
I'm
very
away on a
strong
holiday.
smell
Like
for
I'm
me.
having like a pina colada or something.
I kind of exaggerated
but it's not.
that.
It's like coconut and an apple. I just don't get it. This is really good.
Yeah, no, it was
This was really good. What?
Like,
What's happening?
I would say for me, even like small amounts of coconut shavings and something, I'm like,
wild.
oh,
That's
okay,
good,
I
that's
can pick
good.
up the
That
coconut.
is wild.
That's why I was like
But
so averse
now
to
this only
many like
leaves us with
sweets
the,
even when I was younger.
The
It's
whiskey and the
there's coconut in
bacon.
this?
You know, you never know. You never
my
know.
favorite.
Maybe
Now I like coconut.
maybe these are you know, sleeper good apples.
I think the whiskey
just
one will
no
be
way.
fine.
You just never
I
know.
think
Maybe
bacon one will
maybe
be
there's something about
good.
whiskey or bacon flavor that just pairs perfectly with apple.
No.
All right,
But you
maybe.
keep believing that, Niall.
So
It's
I'm
your
gonna
channel,
do it in
after
the
all.
order of what I think is least bad to bad. So I'll go with the whiskey next.
Okay, good. So he thinks the bacon's gonna maybe not be good.
I hate to say it's actually not bad.
Really?
Yeah.
It actually just tastes.
It's like a
really
hot
is just
toddy.
the essence of whiskey flavor, but it's sweet and tastes like an apple.
Like, I don't like
Interesting.
whiskey, but I like hot toddy.
I would say it's better than I thought, but still bad. And this leaves us now with bacon. Oh, it just smells like meat. It smells like fried meat.
Ew.
Well, I guess I'll see. Come on, bacon apple. You need to be secretly good.
Oh, that's not a happy face.
No. Oh. That's grotesque.
Who would have guessed?
Grotesque is the only way I can describe that. If you fed this to somebody, they would actually think you are just poisoning them. This is bad.
It's poison. It's a poison apple.
try it.
Yeah, let me try bacon. Come on.
Oh, yes, please. I need to see
I
his
feel like this
reaction. So-
combination is just not. I believe you. I feel like this combination is probably not a good one. Also, dude, it smells so smoky too. Oh, this is so nasty. This is disgusting. This is by far the worst combination. The first bite is absolutely abysmal. It's not good, honestly. It's easily not good.
Easily not. So, I don't think the bacon and whiskey one being bad comes as a surprise to either of us. But, overall, I think everything else actually turned out pretty well. The orange one was amazing. The coconut cream was, I think, borderline perfect. And yeah, I just think that one big thing that I learned from this was that getting the perfect flavor in each apple is not necessarily easy. You can't
I'm
just
still
like
most curious
make
to
a
find the
generic
cinnamon
formula
apple. That
or
one
generic recipe
is
and just blast
the one
every
I'm the
apple,
most
you know,
curious
for the
about.
same time at the same concentration. I think if you want to perfect each flavor, you kind of have to do a lot of trial and error, which is why some of them were like, you know, much less flavorful than others. But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm happy with how it all turned out. And I think that, yeah, I think we successfully showed that you can, in fact, make an apple taste like almost anything. Your only limitation is the ability to either buy the flavor or I guess you can also put it together yourself. But if you can do that, there is no limit as far as I
hate
can
to say
tell
it, this might be
on what
something
you
I
can
actually
make
do
an
try
apple
in the
taste like.
future. I might try to get cinnamaldehyde at one point and the tween 80 to make
Okay,
this
so
all come
it's been
together.
a while now, and we've still been occasionally enjoying our apples, like this
I think
amazing
this might be
orange
the
one.
ad. Yeah, this is the ad. All right, we're moving off of this now. That was fun. That's a horrifying window into things that I maybe shouldn't do but might do anyways. One day, maybe for content. Maybe once I get a live stream thing going up or real life live stream. All right, we got one more video for the night. We're at 2 hours. Normally I'd call it around now, but I have a work from home day tomorrow, so I have some extra time. This is from Periodic Videos, one of my favorite educational channels, and a pretty consistent feature on these React streams. They are a university out of the University of Nottingham, out of England, and they like to make various educational videos on either things currently happening in chemistry, specific elements, or whatever topic happens to cross their minds. This is a video on bath bombs from 6 months ago. Took me a little while to get here. Oops. But, I don't know. I'm curious what they have to say. I'm not entirely sure how bath bombs work necessarily, but I'm guessing it's just something that an outer layer dissolves, and then there's like a fizziness on the inside that kind of disperses. Happy Labor Day and almost Labor Day, depending on where you live. Question mark? No. Isn't... No, Labor Day is, well, at least here in the US, I'm pretty sure Labor Day is a September thing. Am I stupid? Hold on. Uh-oh, we're gonna actively test right now. Is Crash dumb? Labor Day, USA. Yeah, no, it's in September. It's in September. Some parts of the world, Labor Day on different days. May in other parts of the world. Interesting. Of course, our Labor Day ends up being different. That would be only in alignment with how the United States has a view of labor. Anyways, welcome, Chris. Thanks for the warm wishes, though, and glad for you. You know, happy Labor Day on your end of the world. Originally in May in here. Oh, interesting. I didn't know when that changed, but yeah, we're glad you could catch us at the tail end here. We just got done watching a man turn apples into weird flavored bombs of cinnamon apples or bubblegum apples or horrifyingly bacon apples. And we're going to close things off tonight with a quick educational video on bath bombs from my favorite periodic videos.
Brady set Neil and me a challenge. He'd been shopping in a shop that sells bath bombs. These are objects,
looks like fire pouring out.
Mixtures of chemicals and perfumes that people throw into their baths, much bubbling, and they smell nice.
Have you ever used one?
No, I haven't used one. I have baths, but I have more sense than to use bath bombs.
Do you have more baths or showers?
More baths. I'm like Archimedes. I have sometimes very good ideas in the bath. In fact, I was thinking about your challenge in the bath last night. Brady was in the shop and he saw some bath bombs called the Mad Professor.
Look vaguely like
Now, why he was interested in a Mad Professor, I cannot guess, but you might. He set me a challenge and Neil to do something chemically interesting with his bath bombs. There was a list of the ingredients.
Oh boy, that is a lot.
Some of which
well, most of them are dyes.
Chemically a bit strange, but the main ingredients were sodium bicarbonate and citric acid.
Oh,
citric
and
acid
yeah, that's
is the
why it
acid
fizzes.
that you find in lemons, oranges. It's an organic acid. Sodium bicarbonate is a very weak alkali. So the idea is that acid will react with alkali, liberate carbon dioxide, blow bubbles, and give you a sort of bubble bath.
So when you put it in a normal bath, Professor, it's not the bicarbonate reacting with the water. Is the water helping the bicarbonate react with the acid?
Yes. First of all, we just put one of the poor professors into water, or rather we put him in an empty beaker
sort of
and poured water over him. And just to make things a bit more complicated, the manufacturers had put some different coloured dyes in different chunks of the bomb. So the professor had blue streaks and green streaks and a red streak, which came out at various times, but chemically we think that these dyes are completely inert.
This rearranges to form.
Brady's, you know, has a thermal camera which measures the temperature of whatever it's looking at. So I suggested he should point the thermal camera at the professor, because Neil and I predicted that when the acid and alkali reacted, the professor would get hot.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Labor Day.
Exothermic reaction, meaning heat is given out. My reason was chemical. Neil's reason was most reactions are exothermic. On the other hand, Brady said he thought the temperature would drop, so-called endothermic reaction, and he has privileged information because he uses bath bombs, and he's noticed they get a bit cold when he uses them in his bath. As it turned out, unfortunately, Brady was right.
Oh no, the non-chemist guy ended up being right. But yeah, he had experience, so I'm guessing there are other materials.
Probably is that the dissolving of the salts is the endothermic process, and citric acid is a pretty weak acid, so the acid-alkali reaction doesn't produce much heat, but heat is needed to dissolve the salt. And the professor is quite tubby, so there's a lot to dissolve.
Yeah, you would hope that Mayday thing gets, internationalized, but the U.S. will take any opportunity to not become part of the international
So then, I thought that because sodium bicarbonate is slightly alkaline, that perhaps if we put an indicator, so-called phenolphthalein, which is colorless in acid and red in alkali,
the PTSD compound of many a titration.
If we pour some colorless solution of phenolphthalein over the professor, a new fresh sample, it would go red because the professor would be slightly alkaline.
The professor is going to start bleeding hyper-realistic blood.
Nothing happened.
Ah, damn.
The professor wasn't alkaline, but Neil had a really historic sample of so-called universal indicator, which changes different colors for acid and alkaline, and this showed that the professor, when you pour the universal indicator over him, is slightly acid.
It's acidic.
There's the hyper-realistic blood.
That's an old jar, that one.
This probably reflects on the fact that citric acid has 3 acid groups, and therefore even when it's neutralized, it still has some acid groups that have not reacted with the bicarbonate. So I was beginning to feel a bit cheated. There was Brady who was right once, Neil was right once, and I was completely wrong. I then had the idea that we should try shining UV light onto the bath bomb, the poor professor, to see if there was any fluorescence.
Oh, it absolutely should. All those dyes in
Fluorescence is
there.
when a molecule takes in UV light and gives out visible light.
Let me see if I can't give a quick. I think
Well done, Prof.
Fluorescence.
And much to my
Mechanism
pleasure, of the
okay.
3...
All right, I will take a quick moment to try to explain fluorescence a little bit here. So, fluorescence is an interesting phenomenon. It requires some knowledge of quantum mechanics to understand thoroughly, but I can give the basic gist of how it works. So, I'm going to draw a energy potential diagram for the electrons that we're going to be talking about here really quickly. And as you may remember from your chemistry classes in high school or college, electrons are ordered into molecular orbitals, which are basically shapes of probability densities around a given atom for where you might find the electron at a given time. So your s orbitals are these circular shapes or spherical shapes around your nucleus at the center. Your p orbitals are these dumbbell shaped lobes in 2 directions. D orbitals are like these 4 that's not a good D orbital. 4-lobed shapes, and they have different phases based on quantum mechanical reasons, etc., etc. The shapes are not going to be too important for this, at least the high-level overview I'm about to give. But basically, fluorescence works like this. You have an energy level that contains electrons, or this is representative of an orbital with electrons in them, and then you have multiple other orbitals at other energy levels in the molecule, and these are empty. They're devoid of electrons, at least for now. When you impinge light upon the material, depending on just what the difference in energy is between these two orbital levels, you can actually fire light at the material, which is represented typically by H nu, which is an expression of how much energy it has. This light can be absorbed by the material, which functionally causes one of these electrons to move up an energy level. So you end up getting, at least temporarily, a situation that looks like this, where you have one electron that has moved all the way up here. And this is a molecule in its excited state, because this is an unstable state where it has absorbed energy, much like how if you were to expand a spring, it is not, collapsing in on itself, but the moment you release that tension, the spring, collapses back in on itself to its resting state. Now, with fluorescence, you end up... Typically, fluorescence is describing the phenomenon where you're firing light that... this would be UV light, which is invisible to the human eye, and then somehow you end up getting visible light back out. If this electron were to go all the way back down here, that would just release UV light again, because that's the same amount of energy going in and out, and you wouldn't be able to see it. So what fluorescence is that this electron moves down towards this orbital through a non-emissive pathway, meaning that it loses energy without emitting light. This is usually in the form of molecular vibrations or slight conformation changes in the molecule or collisions with other molecules. Sometimes the conformation changes are spurred on by collisions with other molecules. When this happens is a little bit beyond the scope of depth that I want to go into right now, but because all of this electron transitioning between different orbitals has to also do with the symmetry of the orbitals and how compatible and those are, how much the symmetry matches up, and a very high-level quantum mechanical discussion at that point. So it's not something I want to get lost in a rabbit hole for about an hour in. But for right now, take it on good faith that through some non-emissive pathway, this electron finds its way down to this middle orbital here, and then with the limited space that I have remaining, we can have a diagram that looks like this. And then it just so happens that the electron then chooses to go by an emissive pathway, which I will represent with the wiggly line, releasing visible light. So basically, that's a long-winded way of saying fluorescence is when a molecule can absorb invisible high-energy light, like UV light, excite an electron with it, then through some non-emissive reduction of energy, reduce that, or emit that light out again, but at a lower amount of energy. It basically uses that light to do a little bit of internal work or vibration or what have you, and then releases the excess that it doesn't get to use as visible wavelength. So in this example here with the bath bomb, you basically your whatever dye you have is absorbing the UV light and then re-emitting it out as something as green light. It uses a fair handful of the energy within the UV light and then shoots it back out and does it really quickly. And a side note to this is that you may hear phosphorescence and fluorescence and in your everyday life think they're similar. They are similar. The only difference between them is the time scale involved. Phosphorescence is when you get something that is typically described as, glow in the dark. It will, absorb light and then slowly release back out the visible light on a scale that is observable, like, to humans on the scale of seconds. Meanwhile, fluorescence is, like, immediate. It is happening so quickly that the moment you turn off the UV light, it just goes back to looking normal. That this process would take place on the order of, like, less than milliseconds, like nano or microseconds at the very most. So just a fun fact for you to be able to carry out through your life and introduce a little bit of pedantry into whatever conversation you have with somebody who accidentally says, this thing is fluorescent. You say, actually, that's phosphorescent, because you can observe it after the lights go out. Yeah, that's kind of the basic overview of it. The next level discussion would be, well, what causes something to be absorptive of UV light? Then you get into discussion of structure and why dyes are absorptive of color in the first place. But that can be a discussion for another video, I think. So let's get back into the bath bombs. I like this bath bomb video. This is the first periodic video in a while that I've watched that has been very kind of like, let's investigate miniature pieces of chemistry from an ordinary, everyday object. And this is cool. They talked about acid-base chemistry. They're talking about fluorescence. I want to see what else they're going to get to here.
3 dyes, the red, the green, and the blue. The green dye fluoresced very strongly. It looked a completely different color, but it was emitting this sort of bluish light. Then we decided to be a bit more chemically vicious. We tried...
Also, I know I'm going back to the video, but if you have questions on what I just explained, I'd be happy to offer them. I'm just as interested in teaching chemistry as I am in watching chemistry.
Using concentrated sulfuric acid. Concentrated sulfuric acid has the property of removing the elements of water from compounds. And both citric acid and the so-called rice powder or rice starch.
Sulfuric acid is known as a good dehydrating
one of
agent.
The ingredients
it's so powerful at applying
elements of water,
protons to oxygens that water rips off of it.
And carbon is black. So having had a whole series of boring experiments where nothing much changed, we poured on the sulfuric acid and we noticed 2 quite different effects.
His brain is being dissolved into. Oh!
The first effect was looking through the thermal camera, and this time, with the conc sulfuric acid, the professor really lit up. There was a lot of heat. Partly this may have been the water being extracted and reacting with sulfuric acid, because sulfuric acid releases a lot of heat when it's mixed with water. And secondly, it may be because the reaction of sulfuric acid with the ingredients of the bath bomb were inherently exothermic.
Mostly the acid-based reaction, if I had to guess.
The professor lit up.
Also, wow, starting to just pour a whole lot of sulfuric on this poor guy, huh? Score. Your dog ate your time and overslept and lost homework. Well, if your dog ate some time, you should probably take him to the vet. I don't know if dogs are supposed to eat that kind of spice.
Secondly,
herb. I guess the herb might be a better term.
Surprisingly, there wasn't much color change. I'd expected the professor to go coal black straight away, and there was perhaps some slight discoloring.
I can only imagine there's so much starch in this. It's probably mostly other stuff.
As it
salts
dissolved out of the bomb. But it did fizz in a really quite satisfying way.
And now you lay him down to rest in a sulfury, acidic grave. How cruel. If you do want to see a crazy acid dissolution on this channel, may I recommend their hydrofluoric acid video, where it turns a chicken leg green and cuts it straight in half. It's pretty cool.
And then when Neil doused it all in the sink, the heat from the water going into the sulfuric acid caused really quite a lot of bubbling and a big temperature rise. Then, as you know, Neil loves burning things.
Who doesn't?
So we decided to burn the poor professor. Neil had
think it's going to burn that
torch,
well. Yeah, it's mostly salts.
and he also had a
Some of the
tube
organics will burn.
with a supply of oxygen coming out of essentially a needle, which he could point at things. So when he played the flame on the face of the poor professor, the face went black.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely soot
Presumably
deposit. But...
because things were decomposing to carbon.
yeah, you are burning slowly into that man's skull, so... I just think
So
it's...
that's a good change.
It's not paper, it's not going to light up.
He then thought he would jazz it up by blowing oxygen on it, and it should get much hotter. Oxygen makes combustion go faster.
Get that deep red flame from a very oxygen-rich fire.
Really surprisingly, the jet of oxygen cooled things down. You could see on the thermal imaging camera it got cooler, and visibly the flames got less. This doesn't mean that you should use oxygen as a fire extinguisher, but it means the blast of gas was enough to cool things down, and presumably the oxygen diffused away so fast that it didn't really add to the combustion. So Neil got a bigger and better burner.
Yeah, you're right. Use hydrogen and oxygen instead. There's definitely no problems with doing that to extinguish a fire. But I mean, if we're asking seriously, we don't want to use oxygen to put out a fire, because the key component of basically the key formula for a fire is the combustion reaction that looks like this. CYHX plus some amount of oxygen will burn and form H2O plus CO2, and this is going to be Y units of CO2 and 1/2 X units of H2O, and then some function of X and Y to make that much oxygen. I think X plus Y O2? Or no. 1/2 X plus Y O2. Running out of space, you probably can't even read this. Oops. That's why you don't want to use oxygen to put out a fire. It's going to be getting more intense. Don't want to use hydrogen either, because, well, hey, guess what you're supplying? Though interestingly, hydrogen is like the one combustible thing that doesn't contain any carbon. So, I mean, if you have no carbon, there's no Y, then basically your reaction just turns into H2 plus O2, 1/2 O2, becomes H2O. So, hydrogen, you may have heard of hydrogen being a clean burning fuel that people are looking into for, environmental sustainability reasons. And yeah, technically they're right. I mean, hydrogen just burns into forming water. It's now water is itself, it can be a greenhouse gas when it is vaporized sufficiently enough, but you can also just collect water as well. It's kind of a life sustainer. So there is much benefit into moving away from aliphatic carbon hydrogen fuels to just hydrogen fuels.
And then when he put the big flame on the poor professor, when he added the oxygen, it really started burning.
This feels less like doing elegant chemistry and solving a problem, and more just like, I want to burninate the shit out of this poor little man.
The professor had sort of become a black and white owl. I thought it looked rather elegant and artistic.
It's like if you take
Professor,
a hammer
were you
strong
worried
enough
about how
to
much
end
Neil
will
seemed
shatter.
to enjoy setting fire to a professor?
Well, I was concentrating so much on the experiment that I didn't notice the smirk on Neil's face. Otherwise, I might have got a bit worried. Anyway, we then thought it would be interesting to see what happened if we poured some water on this owl.
It'll start
Unfortunately,
dissolving.
part of the owl's face fell off before we got the water there. But what I thought was really interesting is that when we added water, the charred bits of the figure fell off, and inside it was still completely white.
Yeah, again,
and
it's
had
mostly
been
salts.
largely unaffected by
Shocked
the
they
heat,
didn't think about this.
which demonstrates
Salts aren't
that
flammable.
these materials are very poor conductors of heat, and also the material is sufficiently dense that the oxygen cannot really reach the middle, so they can't burn. So after just a few minutes, it looked just the same as the unburnt professor.
Do you think the bombs have to be dense like that so that they last a long time in the bath and the water can't get in as easily as well?
I think that's almost certainly the reason.
Low surface area,
and
high
also,
volume.
You'd be
Get
very
party for longer.
disappointed if your expensive bath toy, and I assume it was expensive, falls to bits as soon as you put it in the bath. So it has to have a certain strength, like the old professor, and doesn't fall to bits immediately.
Well, that was a fun glimpse into the various chemical properties of a fairly common household item. This was good. This is a very fun React stream this time around. We got to watch, and sorry for the people who came in late, but if you'd like to watch it, the early parts of the VOD, we watched videos on blowing a 6,000 amp fuse using a hell machine of 400 car batteries strapped next to each other. Making an apple that tastes like, or making apples that taste like bacon, cotton candy, whiskey, what you have it. Making shitty plywood paper out of ethanol, and now some bath bomb chemistry discussion. This is why I love chemistry. There's so much to go into, and just thinking about, how the world relates to each other. It was, I got attracted to the field by liking pretty colors as a kid, and now I get to enjoy complex discussions of burning things, exploding things, or reverse engineering lit juice into usable paper. So, yeah, this field is great. That's gonna be it for me tonight, though. I gotta get up for work tomorrow so I can do science at work. Thanks everybody for coming in, joining, popping in for a little bit, taking some interest in my professional hyperfixation. We'll do another chemistry react next month, which I think will be interesting. There was a video I was like, if I hadn't already made the thumbnail for today's video, I totally would have reacted to it today, but given the fact it came out just a little bit too late, I didn't have time to actually throw it together. My favorite Chemist, Explosions and Fire, put out a video on should you do a PhD, which, oh man, I have opinions about as well, and I'm sure he does, considering he spent the last like 6 or 7 years, 6, 7, working on his physical chemistry PhD, and I mastered out of my PhD program because, oh my god, I could not live with grad school for very long. But in a weird sense, I don't regret my time there either. That'll be next month's reaction. Might be the whole video, to be honest, because it was a long one. Yeah, I look forward to that. That'll be fun. Because that will be highly, highly opinionated, probably on both the reactor and the reactee's end. But in the meantime, we will have, plenty of stuff going on the channel for the next month. We have going back to finishing Mega Man Extreme next week. We're getting back to the Doom community submissions as well on Tuesday. And then later on in the month, if you haven't seen in the Discord yet, and if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. We are going to be finishing off May. I have an event set at the second to last day of May 30th, to do some Ruby Spears Mega Man watching in the voice chat. So if you can, make some time for that that evening so we can all nerd out and watch some 90s schlock together. And by tomorrow night, I will also be making a formal announcement of an event stream that me, Pig Serpent, and Rowan are doing together. You may remember us as the trio who reacts to the worst music of each year. That is assembled by Pig Serpent, aka Eris. And our 2025 video is finally almost done. And to commemorate and promote that, we are going to be doing a drawing Mega Men Robot Masters poorly based off of community prompts. So once I make the announcement and give the instructions, you will send your prompts to Grim for him to sort out, and we will draw various Robot Masters based on the prompts given. Please note that only one of us has any extensive Mega Man knowledge, and only another one of us has any extensive drawing talent. So you will end up, and those two people are not the same people. And then there's, of course, one person that has neither of those. So you will end up seeing some fucked up creations for sure. And I think that's half the fun. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow, and for in the coming weeks, we'll do that stream as well. Yeah, what other promotion stuff should I say? You should like this video because it helps me in the metrics and get my name out there to other people. You should also hype it and share it with your local chemist friends, if you have any. And if you don't, I don't know, share it with, like, your parents or something. They might find it. Yeah, like I said, we'll be back next week with the rest of Mega Man Extreme, some more Doom stuff. And that's gonna call it. That's gonna be it for me tonight. I'm gonna go before I just ramble myself into nowhere because I'm getting into that mood because I'm tired. Have a good night, everybody. Get some sleep, as we like to say, and enjoy yourself. Until next time, crash out. Don't crash out, just me, Crash, going out. Yeah. Bye. Good night.